Greetings and salutations, Passionates. Welcome to another episode of the Passion PSA podcast, where I passion no last necessary. Your Get You Right Guru. Issue a weekly public service announcement about whatever I've observed or was on my mind. This is a for your consideration zone where the objective is to offer you a perspective you may not have previously considered, to both expand your thinking and to get you to be a better version of yourself and for others. This is a safe space, but not necessarily a delicate one. I'll never rob you of your right to feel what you feel. The same way I won't sugarcoat whatever it is I need to say. Today's episode is part 2 to last week, where Shangri, did I even tell you her name last week? Probably not. But anyway, where Shangri and I sat down, she interviewed me for part 1. For part 2, it really kind of turned where I interviewed her and asked her exactly what it was that she wanted to do. And so it kind of went from an interview into a coaching session, which you will see. I'm not going to belabor the time. We're going to jump right in. And as always, if you would like to donate, the donation links are below. You can donate through my PayPal, through my Cash App, through my Podbean page, through my Linktree, and through Zelle. If you want to send in a listener letter, you can send it to my brilliant friend passion@gmail.com, or you can comment below the episode. If you are listening and you are not watching, you can comment on your platform of preference. If you cannot comment on your platform of preference, you can always like, you can rate, or you can share. All 3 would be appreciated. I think that's all I have to say. See you next week. Later. Passion public service announcement. Passionate. Let me tell you something.
So what is this Passion PSA podcast? Who am I? Well, they call me Passion, short for passion no last necessary. Why is there no last name necessary? Because the first name says it all. I am Passion and all that embodies. What do I do here? I give you the life coaching that you know you need, but don't enroll yourself in. When did I start? Actually, 2017. I'd leave a PSA on my Instagram regarding something I'd observed, and now we've evolved to this. Why do I do it? Why not? If even one person is able to take away one thing that changes their life, someone else's life, or changes the world for the better, then I've done what I was charged to do. So come on in, sit and listen for a while. There's something here for everyone at the Passion PSA podcast.
You told me what she's interested in, but you haven't told me what you're interested in. So what are you interested in?
How much time do we have?
Listen, because Zoom will dead us when they're ready. Zoom will be like, okay, well, that's enough talk for today. And then we'll just have to come in with a new meeting. That's all.
That's it. There is a lot. So everything from specifically sexual abuse trauma.
Okay.
With children, what that means growing up into adulthood, the ramifications and the ripple effects that come from that I'm in my 40s.
Okay.
A lot of things I didn't know, didn't learn, didn't unlearn and relearn until my 40s. And it caused a lot of issues within a relationship because it was things that was said that I should have known. Well, no. And if you didn't ever do any research into what it's like to deal with someone that is coming out of sexual abuse, sexual trauma, sexual anything, you don't know their brain doesn't actually function much like the rest of the people. And you do have 2 sets of people, those that deal with it, heal, move on with life, and those that kind of get stuck anywhere along in the process repeatedly. So definitely the relationship component itself in that, and then just in general. Those 2 things definitely is where my heart would kind of lead, because I'm finding that within our community, we just don't have it. We don't have somebody to say, yes, I made this mistake repeatedly, whether I wanted to or not, and understand why you're making the mistake, where it actually comes from. It wasn't until I had a health and wellness coach who was a Black woman, because I was running around making statements like, I can't stand Black women. Nope, don't. Now, it was a very specific group. Mm-hmm. But she said to me, so Do you know what you just said?
That you can't see yourself?
Right. Now, how simple was that? But for me,
right,
I didn't see that.
A lot of people don't.
So that kind of helped me go, okay, there's something faulty with my thinking. I need to go back in and look at that. But you also have to have a supportive partner. Because if you do not have a supportive partner, that is one uphill battle. One uphill battle.
It can be. It can be. So everything that you've discussed here, I would say that could probably be discussed in an episode or a couple episodes. So if it's the psychology of it, the first question is, do you plan on hosting your podcast? If you were basing your podcast on trauma healing, right? Would you be hosting by yourself? Would you be hosting with a partner? Would your partner be a licensed or degreed or certified individual, whether it's a therapist, a life coach, a counselor, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or would it just be someone else who has gone through similar traumas? And if you're planning on doing it by yourself, do you plan on scripting? Like I script, right? Mm-hmm. And that's very intentional. I recognize that there are times when I can't call on the words the way I want to, and I prefer a certain type of fluidity. And if there's no conversation, I prefer for it to be smooth and seamless. So I script so I can get my thoughts together in advance, and I can eliminate the ums, the uhs, the knows, or as many of them as possible. And so that everything that I want to say makes sense in context, because I know that I can wander off the topic, because sometimes it's just too much activity going on in my mind. Mm-hmm, so this keeps me, this where we're supposed to be, right here. And I don't go outside of that. So if you're planning on hosting by yourself, are you only speaking of your own experiences? Are you going to be speaking of other people's experiences? And do you plan on scripting, or do you plan on going off the top? Now, I'm not asking you those questions for you to answer right now. I'm asking you those questions for you to consider in terms of the subject matter that's closest to your heart. Is it specifically sexual abuse, sexual trauma? Is it relationships in the BIPOC community? Is it within that community only? Think about that. Think about how you want to present it. Think about how frequently you want to present it, because if this is something that if you don't know for definitively that you have content for every week, then maybe this is something you want to put out bi-weekly or less frequently than that. Maybe it's not something that you want to do on YouTube. Maybe it's something that you want to do as an Instagram live, where you definitely already have the community there. And so when people join you in your lives, you can bring up to 3 other people into that live. And so now you're having a community forum instead of just a conversation with whoever might tune in. So those are the things that you want to consider additionally. The frequency that I do this podcast with works for me because, one, even if I was creating an episode every week, I have the time from this Tuesday to next Tuesday to consider a topic. Something is going to come up over the course of this next 7 days that's going to be like, you know what? I should do an episode on that. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. When you're doing something like pop culture, there's always feed for the fodder. However, you also have to be mindful that a lot of people are doing pop culture. So you got to stay on top of it. That's not something that you necessarily want to do once a week. And if you do, then that means that you're aware that what you're talking about has already been talked about. So your audience really has to be loyal to you. With sports, you can talk about a game that happened last week, especially if you're talking about a specific player and you're comparing how they play from week to week to week to week to week. So you constantly have that available to you where you don't have to think really hard. But if what you're looking for yourself or for others is something where you're providing that therapy space, then you might want to make sure, because I don't know what you do professionally. If you're not a counselor yourself, then you might want to bring one on board so that you're able to enlist their services. And then also consider, do you want to do just the podcast, or do you want to do something where the two of you are working in tandem so that they're also able to extend their services, and maybe you have like a what's the word I'm looking for? Let's call it an affiliate link where you get a portion, because basically it's a finder's fee. I led y'all to this therapist, and by using my link to their website, this is how you'll be able to get 10% off of the services that you're receiving. You know what I'm saying? So you might want to consider that as well.
Absolutely. That is definitely the plan. To talk more on a personal level, with the understanding, a lot of platforms allow people to talk. Sometimes what they talk about causes you kind of turn your head this way and go, who let you out? So I don't want it to be a jump on my bandwagon type deal. It literally is just my story for now, with what I went through. If there's something, like you said, if there's something you can pull, great. I just feel we have to begin to just get out here more and talk about these things. I feel like the books that are out here are like, they don't even touch it, but we kind of get roped into picking up the same book to go through the same thing to keep the same line of thought. It's not like that all the time. And the fact of the matter is everybody does not think the same. So yes, I do plan on asking my health and wellness coach to, participate. Maybe even doing like a panel type podcast where you just have people of varying things, kind of just sit down and talk. People that have, been able to recover and live a successful life. People that haven't. What are some of the coping mechanisms that we have put in place? So I believe if I begin to break it down like that, so that you are able to really digest the information, I could probably get a few episodes. And I don't even know, I haven't made up my mind yet on, like, if I do season to season, if next season will be something else. Instead of just kind of staying on the same thing once that season is done.
So then your podcast would, if that's the case, if right now it's up in the air as to whether or not you would stay married to that one particular subject, then it sounds like your podcast would be something in the self-help vein, or in the open conversation vein, where it's very similar to the Passion PSA podcast, where this is what's on your mind or what you've observed, and so you want to talk about it. There's a space for that. There's longevity that is available for that, because at least I can only speak for my podcast, because I already know like the inner workings of it. A lot of the issues that I address, that I will continue to address, these are things that, some of them are things that I've observed recently. Some of them came to my mind to do an episode on, based on things that have happened way before, and they're still relevant. So that's why with this particular subject matter, like, it will live on forever, because as long as people continue to behave like this, there will always be a need for somebody to be talking about it. So it sounds to me like you want to do something in that self-help, self-coaching, self-therapy space where your listener is responsible for taking charge of correcting their behavior. The reason why some of these other platforms, and it's not so much the platform itself, but these other podcasts that to some are lesser agreeable and to some are highly favorable. The reason there's always space for that is because there are more people who are putting, which I said in a recent episode, more people are putting more value into escapism than correcting their behavior. So whatever allows them to laugh and be distracted from the issues is what's going to sell. And that's why you have some of these artists that pander to their fan base. They don't even like some of what they have to put out or what they feel they have to put out, but they know that if they switched up, they would lose a lot of their following. And that comes with the territory. Just know that your audience, your vibe will attract your tribe. Your audience may take a little longer to grow, because when you're talking about things that help yourself, right, and help your mentality, I've observed this. When you're talking about things that help yourself and help your mentality, but not necessarily how to start a business and how to get money, people, they don't prioritize that. They want to prioritize how to get the money by staying the same person that they were. And you'll get some money, but you won't get to that ultimate earner status that you might be aspiring to, because it takes a mindset shift. And there are things that need to change in your behavior. And most people don't want to change what they're already doing, even and especially when they know it's problematic. So, so just know that your audience may take longer to grow, especially if you're doing it organically and without ads, because there are a lot of people who want to help themselves, but some of them are not going to take that initiative. Right. They're not going to take the initiative to come and find your pod. So keep all of that in mind when you choose the name of your podcast, when you choose the set for your podcast, when you choose the guests that you want to have on. You want to make sure when you're talking about heavy topics, you want to make sure that you have really engaging guests. Because if you don't, and it's already a heavy topic, you can guarantee people are going to be like, click, 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 click. Okay, I watched it. And they're going to get from it whatever they were able to get out of. If it's 20 minutes and they watched 6 full minutes, they're going to get what they got out of the 6 minutes. And that's it. Right. Definitely, we talked about the frequency, how often you want to put it out. Whether or not you want to script it or you want to freestyle off the top of your head. And especially if you're going to do something with a panel, I would suggest, even if you didn't do a full script, doing an outline, just so that you can keep people on the subject. On task, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What else? Consider doing lives, though. Even doing, and that's a good way to get your feet wet. Going live on Instagram and seeing like what the response is, and seeing how many people are showing up. Doing saving your lives and then looking at the analytics for how many people viewed the live versus how many people showed up to the actual live. Not everybody can show up. Some people can't be on their phone at work, but some other people got lots and lots of time. So, looking at those analytics to see that. And then while like I'm a big fan of the Social Proof podcast, I'm a big fan of what David Chance does and the information that he puts out there, Donnie Wiggins, the information that she puts out there. While David is preaching to everybody, now's the time to get into the podcasting space. Now's the time to get into the podcasting space. I think that now is a good time to get into the podcasting space, but because so many people are going to jump on the bandwagon, you want to make sure that your podcast is substantive and that it is going to stand out amongst the other people who feel like they should have a podcast. Because there's a lot of people who can afford a microphone. And there are people who already have a camera and they are already
on it.
And whether or not they're saying something worthwhile to you, there are some people who have a following, not even because they're saying something of substance. They have a following because they have a visual appeal or they have some other appeal. But for somebody, if it weren't for that, they wouldn't have no listens. So take your time with it. Don't rush into it. This isn't something that I rushed into. If we're dating back to, and that's why I always go back to when my producer first said it to me. If we're going back to then, we're talking about 2014. So we're talking about a let's call it a 6-year journey. We really could call it 5, but even still, there were years between when the seed was planted and when I actually took the steps. Now, does that mean it should take you 5 to 6 years? No, but just make sure that you have the time for it. Make sure you have the patience for it, and make sure you've thought through every aspect of it. I've decided to make this a podcast because there were things that I wanted to discuss that needed more than 10 minutes talk time. There were things that I was discussing in the previous podcast, and when I started hosting it by myself, I felt like I was making that podcast the Passion PSA podcast as opposed to the podcast it was supposed to be. And that was because I was hosting by myself. Since I'm hosting by myself, listen, Passionates, public service announcement. Stop this. Passionates, public service announcements. You might want to do this. That's how this became what it was. So, were there any other questions that you had in terms of podcasting or in general? Were there any other questions that you had?
No, you covered a lot. Questions that I didn't even think to ask, you've gone over, so I have definitely been scribbling down in my little pad here. So no, this was great. This was very, very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Each one teach one, reach one. Like,
absolutely.
One hand washes the other and both hands wash the face. I'm grateful to have had this opportunity to share this space with you and to share this time with you and to share information with you. And if you have any additional questions on how to do it, I'll help you as much as I can, give you as much advice as I can. And anytime I come across information, I'm not an information hoarder, so I don't mind sharing,
Greatly appreciate it. Greatly.
I will definitely advise you also to purchase a podcasting course. It doesn't have to be the most expensive one, but purchase a podcasting course. I know that David Shands has one. I know that there are a couple out there. I have 2, and probably either at the end of this season or at some point during this season, I will be doing the Launch Your Podcast challenge that David Shands does, just to see like what his challenge has. That's a 5-day challenge, so that's something that you might want to consider. But there are a lot of courses that will teach you how to start a podcast, even how to come up with a topic.
Part of me sitting here at this desk is getting a hold of my email. I have a lot of courses that I purchased that have just sat, that I need to get out of the email, put them somewhere, and then sit, right, and do them, because there's no point in having the information and never having it accessible, never using it, and then going through all this rigmarole when it's like, oh, it was this simple. If you actually had just sat down and kind of looked at the information, you have literally already had. So that's kind of why I kick myself in the Yes.
Me too.
So I am setting myself up to at least once a week finish something. Give myself the whole week. That doesn't mean I got to sit here and just bang it out.
Do you have an accountability partner?
No, I do not have an accountability partner.
Okay.
I do not.
If you had an accountability partner, these are questions that you should ask yourself. How how stern or firm could they be with you in holding you accountable? What's your receptiveness?
I'm the keep your thumb in my neck. But once I get it, and then once I get going, then it's like, let off the reins and let me fly. That part I do know. I have to work on the giddy up. The go part is no problem. It's the giddy up. It is the being afraid to take in the information and being on the wrong side of the door of, well, what happens if you are successful? What happens if you are going to make it? Kind of staying on the safe side of, I'll play it safe back here. Well, I know I'll be okay if I fall. I won't fall too far. I can get back up easy. So literally, it's just, I was reminded by my ex about taking a jump, jumping off the cliff. I don't jump off cliffs. I encourage everybody else to jump off the cliff and will support you. I myself will not jump off the cliff. I'm going to find that nice little ledge over there and step down just easily and meet you at the bottom. It's time to jump off the cliff.
Now, I'm going to ask you, and this part I'm probably not going to edit out.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you, it's a little bit confrontational, right? Because I want to challenge you.
Okay.
How many times have you said it's time?
Too many times.
Okay. So is it really time?
Too many times.
Is it really time this time?
So it has to be, and it needs to be, because again, the things that I have just gone through, I'm not going to disrespect.
Okay.
I'm not going to let it consume me and pull me back under.
Okay.
There is anger involved, and I know, don't make bad decisions in anger, but anger can definitely be a great fuel to, propel you. I want to make sure when I'm propelling, I am propelling on positivity, on growth, on leaving this stuff behind. Again, I just got to this point where it's like, you can't keep doing this. You can't keep running in circles. You can't. There's too many things, whether it's the universe, whether it's you, whether it's a song, talking. The baby girl is 18. And now you're about to be single?
Okay.
That's a whole new... I have been somebody's wife and a mother since I was 19. So I've never got to just be the girl. Not that you can give up being a mother. I'm not saying that. But with them being 18, it does pull my hand back a lot. I've not had an opportunity like this before, and I don't want to squander it and or waste it. Finally, Rhonda will be so happy to hear I have a lot of my writings together to give to her so we can actually try to put out some type of book, whether it's just something small, just so that I can say, I did it. Might not sound one thing, but guess what? I did it. One of the healthiest coping skills I have is dancing. Tiffany told me, she challenged me to put out a video, probably about a whole 6 weeks, if not longer. Video still ain't out. But I love music. So
then that brings me back to my question. You said it's time before, right? You have everything. So is it time for real? Like, and I ask you this, and I'm challenging you with this because I've been you, right? For a long time. I was always the one saying, this is the year. This is the time. And it has to work. It needs to work. And then, you know what happened? The next year, I was saying the same thing. So is it the time for real? That's the question that you have to ask yourself. Like, it sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
How ready are you to be about it? Because a lot of what you want to do involves talking, right? But now at this place, your talking also still has to be backed by action. So you got to talk about it and be about it. You got to do. And if the do thing is to talk, go get your microphone. If you don't have anything else, go get your microphone because you got a phone or you have a laptop. Something you have got a camera in it because I'm looking at you. So go get your microphone that has some decent quality. If you get a Yeti, you good to go. If you get something else and it has a pop and get you a pop filter, good to go. Get some kind of broadcast mic. Start. You said you already have some of your writings assembled. If you already have some of your writings assembled to create a book, even if you don't release it, record yourself, right? So you get comfortable with your mic, record yourself reading it out loud. Because now not only do you have something assembled for Rhonda to help you get the publishing done, but now you also have something put together. If the audio quality is good, now you've already started your audiobook, the audiobook version of the book that you're writing.
That's a book.
Like, now is the time for you to do. So here's the thing as well. An accountability partner is phenomenal. However, you got to be your biggest accountability partner.
Mm-hmm.
When you're ready and you're willing to be your accountability partner will fall into place. I was ready, so mine fell into place. My advisor kind of just appeared out of nowhere. I didn't go in search of the assistance. I was muddling my way through. Whether I was getting it right or I was getting it wrong, I was getting something done. And because I was being accountable to making sure there was content consistently, then there came somebody who was also able to advise me further and say, yeah, here's some more advice for you. Here's something else you can try. Here's something else you can apply. Here's something else you can do. And then I had to continue in that same vein of consistency. And so I have. That's part of the reason it was easy for me to assemble episode 1 of this season, because I was really talking about, myself. This is my experience. No, it's not easy to be consistent. And sometimes your accountability partner isn't available. Sometimes they got their own thing going on. So they're not going to be able to keep their foot on your neck. They're not going to be able to say, listen, did you do it? You said you were going to do it yesterday. What happened? And sometimes, and that's why I said, what is your level of receptiveness to somebody being firmer? Because you have the person who's going to keep their foot on your neck and be like, all you do is make excuses. All you do is say you need to do it and you haven't done it yet. So what are we doing? Because you wasted my time. If you're not receptive to that, your accountability partner will then be null and void because you can't receive what they're giving you, even though they're giving you what you asked for. Now, you need gentle prodding, and they're like, well, you said you didn't get it done yesterday, and so are you going to get it done today? If that's not going to work for you, then you're going to have to man up, right? You have to get your weight up and say, listen, I do not like the way this person is talking to me. And that's not your cue to say, I don't like the way they're talking to me, so I don't want to talk to them. That's your cue to say, I don't like the way they're talking to me, so let me get it done so they can stop talking to me like that.
Yep.
But you also have to be tough on yourself that way. You also have to be the one to say, yo, I literally came on Instagram to look for something. I don't remember what I came here to look for. And I've been on here for 45 minutes. I got to get off Instagram. Like, I got to do something else. That's the way I've had to push myself. Like, okay, no, I got to get off Instagram right now. I'm going to watch this one podcast and then I'm closing YouTube because I need to work on my own podcast. But you have to be the one to stop saying to yourself, it needs to be, it has to be, I'm going to. You need to stop going to and do. Everything got to stop being future tense and everything has to start being present tense. I'm doing. Consistently, every day, you have to be accountable to yourself for what you're doing. Journaling is fantastic. somebody like me, every day I say I'm gonna write in a journal. Every day I don't write in a journal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm aware of it. Sometimes I'll record things, and then I have great relationships where, like, some of my confidants, we communicate using different platforms like WhatsApp. So we're using voice notes. So a lot of what I haven't written down, it's not the end of the world, because I can always go back and listen to the message because I told them what I was doing. So I'm listening back, and I can always take those notes. But for you, if you're somebody who's good at writing things down, start journaling. 3 goals for the day, and then have 2 pages, because that's one of the things that I'm developing, right? Have 2 pages. So you have your this page, which is your goals for today, and your this page, what I accomplished today. Mm-hmm. So every day you can monitor what you said you were going to do versus what you actually did. At the end of the day, or at the start of the day, okay, I said I was going to get these 3 things done yesterday, and I didn't get any of them done. Now I'm looking at this page. I did get some things done. I did accomplish something, but I didn't accomplish what I set out to. Mm-hmm. So now these goals still need to be met. So I'm going to add them to today's list, and I'm going to be intentional about getting it done, especially when it's something that you don't want to do, because those are the things that we keep putting off. We keep putting off. And it's just this one thing, and it's just this one thing. And that one thing sits to the side, and that one thing becomes 15 things stacked on top of that one thing. And by the time you get through those other 14, that one thing is still sitting there. So you got to be your accountability partner first. You got to be, especially once you start releasing content and people are receptive to it, you got to be consistent about putting out that content. Mm-hmm. So this is not something that you want to start and then drop unless you've let people know we're going to do this in seasons. So yeah, you're only going to get 15 or 16 episodes. And after 16 episodes, I'm taking a break so that I can regroup and I can reset for the next season, and you'll get your next 16 episodes. But if that's not what you're doing, you got to think through what's going to work best for you.
Very good point. Very good point. And I know I thought about that too. How out here do I want to be? How present in society do I want to be? So I have to find that ground that I'm comfortable at. I'm out here at this level. This is where I want to be. I don't want to do no more, because I still represent people and people still represent me. So I have to constantly keep that in mind as well, which is nice. It's nice because I've not thought along those lines before. But yes, ma'am, that makes a lot of sense. I need to be able to hold myself accountable. I need to be able to celebrate even the smallest of things, because the small things will then become bigger things. And you can look back at the small things once you begin to break stuff down. My other problem, I take on too much without trying to break those things down. You're missing some things. Stop missing the things. You might get a little farther. So all of that, yes, I am my own accountability specialist. Not specialist, but partner. Mm-hmm. You're amazing. I will tell you that.
I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. It is. It comes naturally to help and to serve. I want to see everyone get to their best self, and I want to see everyone. I really want to see everyone succeed. I want people to be able to take the strides that they need to take, and I want to be able to give them support, but I want to be able to give them candor as well. Candid answers are vital. And when we don't get candid answers, we don't get to where we need to be. Candid answers often make us uncomfortable, though. And a lot of people become uncomfortable, and then they feel like, and I'm a lot of people, right? Because I'm sensitive. So I don't like people talking to me a certain kind of way, because I'll be in my bag like, well, you ain't have to say it like that. So now I don't ever want to talk to you again. Like, and I'm extreme. So I'm not just sensitive, I'm extreme. Like you said, this one thing, I never want to speak to you again ever in your life. And that might be another 130 years, and that's just too bad. I won't speak to you for the next 130 years. I'll catch you next lifetime. So I had to break through that. And so I'm learning to be more receptive to candid answers that I don't like. And I'm learning to be unapologetic about candid answers that I give, because I try to do the work of prefacing. If I know I'm going to say something that might make you feel away, which is why I said I'm going to say something that may come across confrontational. I want to challenge you. Before I say something that's going to rub you wrong, or that I know might rub you wrong, if you're sensitive, let me let you know. I might make you mad, and that's okay, because that wasn't the intention. You are entitled to feel how you feel. It wasn't my intention to make you feel that way. My intention is simply to get to this answer. So the only answer I want from you, I don't want you to say you're doing it if you're not. That's the thing. I don't want you to say, yes, I'm going to do it. I don't want you. This is not a motivational speaking engagement, right? I don't want you to jump off the Zoom and say, the Zoom and be like, yes, Passion, I'm going to do it. I want you to leave here in truth and transparency. I want you to leave here and say, I know I need to. I know I want to. I know I should. But I don't know if I'm going to do it within the next 30 days. I'll probably still be thinking about it. Because I'd rather you be honest with yourself. You lying to me doesn't make a difference. I'm going to keep going with my podcast regardless. I'm going to keep going with my life regardless. But you lying to you is only slowing you down. When you're ready to be honest with yourself and say, I really want to do this, but I really don't want to put all the work in. I really want to do this, but I really just kind of like how it sounds to say I want to do it, because I know that society feels like I should want to be driven about something. I should be passionate about something. But really, the thought of doing all the work turns me completely off. I'd rather you say that, because then we can sit down, we can brainstorm on, well, what would get you excited? If dancing gets you excited, sis, you should be lighting up TikTok. You should be on fire on TikTok. You should already have a following on TikTok. There's somebody grandmother that don't have not nary a tooth and got 3 strands of hair, and she on TikTok and she's shaking it and breaking it and doing all kind of things, and she got 357,000 views and she got 3.2 million followers. You like to dance and you not on TikTok? You want to start a podcast and you not like nah. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to be honest with yourself about where you are. Don't just say what you want to do. Say what you are actually ready to do. When I hit end for all on this meeting, what you going to do? Are you going to review everything that you saw and then start to put a plan together? Are you going to look at everything and be like, wow, that was so good, and then close the notebook? I'm guilty of that. I'm very guilty of that. I've done the exact same thing that you've done. I've had the exact same conversation that you've had with you know what? I can't buy any more courses. I can't, because I have purchased courses. I'm the person that they're talking to when the course creator says, y'all buy these courses, but y'all don't open them. And that's great. I appreciate that you putting the money in my pocket, but I'm not doing this so you can make me rich. I'm not doing this so you can put money in my pocket. I'm actually doing this because I want to see you grow and flourish. They talking to me, and I'm aware of that. So I have to be honest with myself. I can't buy any more courses. A mastermind here and there, okay. But any more courses? No, because I got to open them and I got to start doing something with it. So that's what you need to decide. What are you doing when you get off this Zoom? Today's Thursday. What are you doing for the remainder of the week? What are you doing for the remainder of this month? You understand? That's what you need to do. That's the mode, yes. That's the do. That's not the think, that's the do. The decision is the think, the action is the do. That's it. I'm gonna slide in your inbox, sis. Please do. In your inbox, and I'm gonna check in. I know. Listen, if I don't know nothing else, getting off the Zoom, I know that. I was slide right in your DM like, hey, girl, hey. No, I mean, you know what? I do remember the one. What did the calls used to be at night? We'd be on there all hours of the night.
The after hour calls. Yes, the after dark calls. And that's where I think I first heard someone say, man, if you got an idea, if you don't know what to do, talk to Passion. She'll get you right. She'll do this. And so I never forgot. And this is one of them things, right? Where that was last year. That was last year. But I'm just now taking that step to get to you. And I do understand everything in this time, everything in this season. But I do also understand, get up. Get up. So I'm aware. And that's what's bad for me, is I've been aware for way too long. Way too long. My brother has a studio. I'm telling my daughter, call your Uncle Mike. He probably got a microphone. Mom, call your brother. He got a microphone.
So right there, you just answered your question as to who your accountability partner is. Your daughter's right there.
She's good.
I mean, if she's willing, if you're willing to receive it from her, and she doesn't have to talk to you disrespectfully to be firm with you. But if you're willing to receive it from her, and also that's a great thing for if the two of you were doing a mother-daughter podcast and talking about, like, you know, what it's like, that dynamic, at least in your household, and so helping other people to see that, like, yeah, some of the crazy in the dynamics between mothers and daughters, like, that's a real thing. You're not bugging. To be able to put all of that into the podcast like that, it's easy when you have a partner, because it's just a conversation. It's the two of you sitting in front of microphones. Each of you has a microphone and you're just talking. It's 10 times harder when you got to do it by yourself. It's 10 times harder. Because you got to think of everything. You gotta hold everything together. So it's a lot harder. If you got a partner, you're fine.
And she has a lot to say. And her comments, sometimes I'd be like, I really should just, every time you walk in my room, put the camera on, because what comes out your mouth is just jaw-dropping sometimes for your age. And
turn on your voice recorder. Even if you don't turn on your camera, turn on your voice recorder.
See, I didn't think about that.
Or go to
very simple.
Go to Best Buy. Yeah, go to Best Buy, get a voice activated recorder. So, because if you're constantly saying, I'm going to remember this, and then but at least if you said it out loud, if you have a voice activated recorder and you keep it close by and you say it out loud, the voice activated recorder is going to start when you start talking.
And it's right there. It's right there. So these are the things that I know, even hearing you say it, it's right. It stings a little bit. You're kind of like, yeah. But that's what it is. I have to stop self-sabotaging myself as well. So it definitely is the mindset shifting. I think the difference is this time I'm sick and tired. I wasn't sick and tired before. I'm sick and tired now. This idea that I have hidden myself for so long stops. Not has to stop, not is going to stop. It stops.
Good.
It stops. Being afraid to talk, being afraid to put stuff out there, being afraid for people to know stuff. It stops.
Good.
So I don't want to let this feeling go. So I want to remember this feeling. When them hard feelings come up, go back, pull that feeling up, and keep going. Become the best rose you can in the pile of shit that you're in. Excuse my language, I'm sorry. That you're in right now.
You ready?
My day is good. I am ready.
Good.
I am ready.
I'm cheering for you. Ma'am. I am rooting for you. I am glad that we did this. I look forward to your success. I look forward to the joint venture with you and your daughter. Yes, absolutely. It has been my pleasure to have you here today. I feel like you didn't introduce yourself. Like, do you want the people to know your name or not?
I'd rather it be what I go off of on Instagram, which is Shangri.
Okay. That's fine. Some people want to maintain their anonymity, and that's perfectly fine. Yes. So it has been great.
Thank you. I am excited.
You are welcome. All right.
Bye-bye.
Be well. All right, Passionates, we did it. Another episode, another guest. So them rude people on my staff can stop talking crazy to me, because I don't like when they talk to me like that. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you have listener letters, please feel free to email me at mybrilliantfriendpassion@gmail.com. Whether it's just to give me some feedback, or if you have a specific question that you'd like answered and you want to maintain your anonymity. Otherwise, you can just drop a comment below. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Please turn on your notifications so that you are aware every time a new episode drops. Your support is greatly appreciated. It is greatly appreciated. I greatly appreciate you. If you would like to be a financial supporter of the pod, please feel free to donate at Cash App. My Cash App is $P no last. You can donate through my link tree, or you can donate on the Podbean page. The links are below the episode. I don't think there was anything else I needed to say, because my stomach been talking for this whole episode. So yeah, go forth. Don't touch the microphone. Be great. Be filled with bliss. Be armed and empowered with knowledge. Be brave enough to ask the question. Be wise enough to ask yourself how ready you actually are. In all things, be passionate. I'll see you later.